Hello, dear listeners. What a year, huh? Jasmine, it's January. I said what I said! Listen, fuck it. We're doing the hero's call to action early in this episode because the shit that we've been saying was going to happen. If we kept giving this asshole power for over a decade, it is now happening to the point where even the moderate white people can't ignore it. Shit is so crazy that even the fucking NRA was right about something, so fuck it. I've got a long list of ways to support the country, particularly Minneapolis, through this ice-induced crisis in the show notes. Do whatever you can, because as per usual, the wrong ice is melting. Know your rights and look out for your neighbors, because that's the only way any of us are going to make it through this shit. And now, on with the show that I hope, if nothing else, serves as a needed reprieve from the unrelenting horrors. If our show can make you smile, or even hopefully inspire you to make the world better in any way, shape, or form, I will die happy. And hey, if nothing else, at least this episode was recorded at a simpler time, back when 2025 was at an end, and we had no idea of what was in store for us in just January 2026. Whew. I am gonna make it through this year, if it kills me. Welcome to A Niche Retelling, the podcast where we explore all the ways old tales are made new, and happy belated New Year, dear listeners. I'm your host, Jasmine Garcia, and joining me today are...
Thawed out after a long hibernation, frankly.
Shami Nakarin, and welcome to 1930, the year of sound remakes of silent films and so many jazz standards.
I'm Grady, and this is the stuff that podcasts are made of.
My name is Leif Bradshaw, and this morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas, but how the elephant got in my pajamas, I don't know.
As is tradition on this here podcast, every January we go through the list of what has now entered the public domain as of January 1st. And we just kind of chat about it in anticipation for all of the new stuff we can talk about on this podcast someday. And I mean, right off the bat, Betty Boop has entered the public domain. Holy shit.
Well, the character, but not the name yet.
Yeah, and specifically her original anthropomorphic poodle design.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for me. We can absolutely talk about anything Betty Boop related.
Unfortunately, that also includes the upcoming, slasher.
Yeah.
Well, again, as long as they make her a furry.
They will never. They're cowards, and you know it.
True.
They already have to deal with enough from the Five Nights at Freddy's gang. But listen, gang. You guys know I love the public domain, but the impulse that people have of making these cheap-ass slashers out of it, boy, does it test my patience.
Like, you could probably make a social horror out of this, especially since, like, Betty herself was inspired by Esther Jones.
Yep, exactly. Although it does seem like there's some debate on how true that is, which, ouch, which already is kind of a fascinating idea. Like, you could probably make a decent biopic out of that.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of material that we could cover now. A lot of the cartoons, obviously. Chandler would be so happy if we talked about the musical that unfortunately recently closed.
Oh
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yet another musical that fell victim to, oh no, I didn't win a Tony, so now we're going to close in like a month.
Nancy Drew for the people who are avid child readers.
no. Oh yeah, I grew up
Avid child readers.
reading Nancy Drew. Like, Secret of the Clock was one of my firsts.
Yeah, no, and there's so much Nancy Drew out there, guys. There was already so much Nancy Drew out there before it was in the public domain.
Mm-hmm. Including, unfortunately, that pilot where Sarah Shahi was going to be playing Yancy, but it never got picked up, unfortunately.
It was Sarah Shahi? I thought it was for Vanessa Forlito.
No, she plays George.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. I've also couldn't help but notice that for any autistic kid who was very stereotypically obsessed with trains, certain turns of phrase to imitate the sound of a train engine moving are no longer covered by copyright because the little engine that could has now entered the public domain.
So now we know we can.
Yeah.
We sure do.
The story had been around for a very long time, but it's like this particular variant of the retelling is like the most famous of them.
Yes, indeed. And for anyone who caught the reference of my introduction as well, the Marx Brothers comedy Animal Crackers has also become public domain material, so that's why I can use that quote wherever I please without having to worry about getting sued. It's lovely.
Just wait, it'll be another 20 years, but we'll finally have the entire Marx Brothers catalog.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That opens up a lot of doors, considering how influential they were, of course.
Oh yeah, to verbal comedy as well as physical, combining the two, because of course big vaudevillian act, and it transferred very well once the moving picture started becoming also the talking picture.
Another large one of note, even though they're not named correctly until next year, is Pluto,
Oh, yeah.
also known as Rover in this particular cartoon.
That's right.
He's not owned by Mickey either. He's owned by Minnie.
He was Minnie's dog at this point.
Yeah, so he's not Pluto the pup yet, but the earliest incarnations of who we would know as Pluto the pup are now in existence. Give it 2 more years and the same thing is going to be true about Goofy, because his first incarnation, Dippy Dog, will enter the public domain in 2 years.
Garsh.
Gosh, indeed. I also would like to note Miss Marple on behalf of my mother, because she's mentioned that she was really fond of, I think it was like some black and white serial versions of them when she was younger. And, you know, I've read a little bit of Agatha Christie, and we've all heard of Poirot, but Miss Marple now will hopefully get her day in the sun a little more as well.
Oh, yes. It's just a shame that it will probably well past all of our lifetimes for the same thing to apply to the knockoff version of Hercule Poirot that Ryan Johnson has cooked up for us all, Benoit Blanc. But we still love him.
Of course we love it. We adore him. And more on that later, Leif.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
All right.
And there's a few William Faulkner's publications, like As I Lay Dying. Like, there is no, like, proper adaptation other than that James Franco one back in 2013, I think it was.
Oof. James Franco, why are you haunting my podcast?
Yes. And A Rose for Emily. Like, I had to read this back in high school. Like, there's actually, like, a short film version where Angelica Houston plays Emily.
Interesting. I mean, there have been quite a lot of peculiar adaptations of a lot of work out there, as this very podcast has been demonstrating often over and over again. So, yeah, I'd be intrigued what that'll be like if I ever do somehow remember to check that out sometime in the future.
And then we got Sam Spade, who we know from The Maltese Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. The original Maltese Falcon book is now public domain. The movie, not yet, but the book, no longer copyrighted in the U.S.
Yep.
Another interesting situation, by the way, because it was originally serialized in Black Mask magazine in 1929, so the serialized version was PD last year.
Yes.
Yes, it was. Yep, I was about to mention that.
Yeah, but
So
its
we-
compiled official novel version is now no longer under
Yes.
that protection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we technically could have been covering the Maltese Falcon this whole time, and there are multiple movies of that too, apparently.
Yeah, there's just only one iconic version is all.
The one with Humphrey Bogart, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested in, you have serialized work, and if it like jumps over a year, so you get the first half one year and then the second half the next.
Yeah.
So, like, you do a film adaptation and it just like stops dead in the middle of the plot, and then the next movie is like from that point you continue.
Yeah, the Wicked movies did that.
No surprise there.
Mm-hmm.
And Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins did that as well. And we will be relitigating how pointless that was in November. Oops, I said too much.
Though less perhaps pointless, another noteworthy inclusion into the public domain starting this year is a very close at hand adaptation of a recent literary work that is now both of works are now considered classics. The 1930 movie adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front is now no longer under copyright.
And Oscar winner too, so that's eligible for Ellie's Pod.
Best Picture winner, in fact, at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm. And Best Director.
Mm-hmm. There have, of course, been several other adaptations of the book since. And yes, of course, the original book, both in its original German and its English translation, have already been public domain for a decent amount of time now. But yeah, this first film adaptation is quite a noteworthy entry in film history for quite a few reasons. And yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how some people are going to potentially react to this one now, considering that, sadly, its messaging remains really poignant and relevant to this day, even if perhaps the acting is a little, well, late 1920s, early 1930s.
Oh, great. So they're going to be calling it woke. Great.
Oh,
That's
God.
Great.
And we've got a certain painting, American Gothic.
Yeah, which, is referenced in just about everything as it is. So I'm going to be very interested to see how much that goes up.
Well, yeah, like I remember Rocky Horror Picture Show referencing that quite vividly, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, one of the many vaulted episodes that I hope to release this year.
Speaking of wacky material from cinema, the debut appearance of the Three Stooges is also now no longer under copyright, the film Soup to Nuts.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, this was back when they were like a 4-member ensemble, right?
If I remember correctly, yes. Though I could be wrong about that, I don't know. I sadly am not as well versed in Three Stooges lore as I ought to be. I just know that an early incarnation of the comedy act made its debut in that film, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no longer under copyright in the United States.
Also, Another Fine Mess, starring Laurel and Hardy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I should have recognized that.
Oh, yeah, one of the original Skinny Man, Fat Man comedy duos of the world of talkies.
Which was an adaptation of a play, which was also an adaptation of the silent movie Duck Soup, which is, yeah, a lot of that was happening around this time period.
Though, of course, the really famous movie of that same name, we've still got 3 more years before that will no longer be under U.S. copyright law. So you can still get sued, I suppose, for doing the Groucho in the Mirror gag without permission.
And then we got Greta Garbo's talkie debut, Anna Christie.
Okay.
That's right. First sound film for her. Have we mentioned yet one of Howard Hughes's cinematic accomplishments of the year 1930?
Yes.
Yeah, with Jean Harlow. That's another one.
I spy a T.S. Eliot poem
Yeah,
on
Ash
this list,
Wednesday.
which means I'm sure Justin will be mocking me that we're getting that much closer
Sure,
to
to
cats
cats.
being eligible.
Ah.
My cup of tea!
Tantalizingly close.
We got a few Silly Symphonies cartoons.
That started in 1929, so there would be a few more now.
There's a few more Betty Boop cartoons that were based on songs. Like, Barnacle Bill was based on, like, Barnacle Bill the Sailor.
Oh, wait, what's this Atlantis movie?
Oh, that was an adaptation of one of the plays that were in the public domain that came out the same time as a movie called Atlantis.
Okay.
It's people still really, it was Titanic before.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
James Cameron.
Oh my God.
So yeah, Titanic is a remake of Atlantis, which is a remake of The Berg, which was a remake of the original incident.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Which,
oh my God.
That checks because James Cameron was deliberately trying to be evocative of the types of epic melodramas of Hollywood from the 1930s with a 1990s budget
That
and
tracks.
veneer. It really does. Like, I remember hearing talk about when the set for that film was built, talking about it like seeing the staircase set of Tara from Gone with the Wind, which was a massive, massive set at the time, for the time as well. That kind of thing. But when it comes to stuff that has entered the public domain at this point, another thing to mention from cinema would probably be Josef von Sternberg's The Blue Angel with Emil Jannings and
Yes.
Marlene Dietrich.
And that's also an adaptation of an adaptation. That was based on a novel called Professor Unread, I think it was.
And I believe that was the movie that gave us Marlene Dietrich's song Falling in Love Again.
Yeah, and we also have Morocco, which has the first lesbian kiss in a Sounds film.
Yes,
Oh,
I do
yeah.
remember seeing that. Well, that particular clip on the celluloid closet. Like, this was around a time where you could kind of get away with just a little bit more because we weren't quite at Hays Code levels yet, but we were getting close.
Yeah, that's another looming spectre.
Oh, yeah. We're still in the pre-code years of Hollywood right now as far as public domain movies that we're gradually getting.
Yeah, so like a lot of the films we're seeing, just like, gangster films or different biopics. One of them I saw, it's apparently a person was being sold into slavery. They were just kind of doing whatever. And it's not until another 3 or 4 years until we get the Hays Code, because that was like, 34? It's looming spectre is on the horizon. We can see its head.
But until then, as far as the film business is concerned, we're still in the jazz age.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the jazz age, Beyond the Blue Horizon.
All aboard for the Blue Horizon. Board. Board.
Guess what iconic theme was inspired by this?
I know because I read the list. I want to see if the others know.
Oh, on the Blue Horizon. Why is it slipping me right now? I guess I'm just not awake enough yet.
Space.
The final
Final
frontier.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, Alexander Courage cites this as inspiration.
Wow, how did that slip my mind? I could have sworn I used to know that. How did I forget?
So what you're saying is that we can now cover TOS on this particular podcast?
I will think about it. I know for a fact there are a few episodes that we can.
Mm-hmm. At least this is something for radio retellings.
And speaking of nerd stuff, one of the other novels that has gone public domain is Gladiator, which is one of the inspirations for
Yes.
a little-known character known as Superman.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Well, we're going to get the real McCoy in a couple years anyway.
We're getting closer to that point as well. And speaking of comic strip material, the first proper full publication of a full story arc from Hergé's Adventures of Tintin is now in the public domain. The original French version of the first Tintin comic strip, Tintin in the Land of the Soviets.
And then we got part of the serialized version of Tintin in the Land of the Congo, which is a very yikey-nikey thing because of all the colonialism of it all.
As Dominic Noble described it, a very sorry about my grandfather, he just doesn't know any better style casual racism.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
We've got Billy the Kid, which is... let me see. Some of the notable remakes include Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid, which has Val Kilmer in it.
Oh, yes.
One of the ones I was looking through, one listed as Beau Bandit. And I'm just going to read the first sentence. Montero is a bandit who, along with his deaf-mute sidekick, Colosso, are planning to rob a bank. So if you're interested in seeing whatever that is, you now can.
Hooray!
And we got a few Looney Tunes in the public domain now.
Yay!
Yeah, most of the iconic Looney Tunes characters we know and love wouldn't exist yet at this point in history in 1930, but their first few cartoons were made. And as the resident music nerd of this podcast, I wonder if it's all right if I list at least a few songs that we can now mention, even if perhaps they might not be covered here.
Well, yeah, it's the year of the jazz standard, because there's like 15 different prominent jazz music that came out this year.
Oh, yeah. Jazz standards like Body and Soul, Dream a Little Dream of Me, On the Sunny Side of the Street, Love for Sale,
My baby just cares for me.
Embraceable You.
Get Happy, and yeah, quite a few Gershwin compositions such as Embraceable You, But Not For Me, and I Got Rhythm.
Which means that one of my favorite High School Musicals that I did is technically eligible. So this is Crazy for You. They basically take a bunch of these songs and Mamma Mia style make a story around it, and I'm fond of it. And I know that it's had other similar iterations where they like changed up the story and changed up what songs there were. But yeah, I'm excited to maybe talk about that and also address the Laura Osness of it all.
Yeah, I would love to discuss Crazy for You with you at some point. Hopefully I can make that one, because that's also a favorite of mine. When I was 13 years old, I was going through a little bit of angst about musicals at that point, because any exposure to musicals I was getting around that time was still very kid-oriented, and I was feeling very much like I was outgrowing musicals at that time. And then I saw a high school production of that musical, Crazy for You, as a little orientation for being a high school student soon, and my love of musicals came rushing right back to me. So I owe it a lot.
I'm not realizing that, just couldn't ask for anything more. Would have been a much better intro, but we're a bit late for that.
Oh,
I mean, you can always re-record it and I'll edit it in.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We've got a few MC Escher prints as well. Crossovalva and The Bridge.
Actually, since we have Get Happy, haven't watched it myself, but didn't Lady Gaga do a version of Get Happy because of the Joker film?
Yes. Yeah.
When I first saw Joker, when I saw you and Murray Franklin, the whole time I was watching, I kept thinking, I hope this guy blows his brains out. And then you did. And for once in my life, I didn't feel so alone anymore. Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. Better chase all your cares away.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we've got the iconic Barbra Streisand, Judy Garland version that was eventually covered by Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo in the One Wicked Night concert.
Yes, oh my goodness. Oh, and speaking of songs that would way later be given absolutely gorgeous arrangements that would eclipse any early versions, the song Georgia on My Mind is now in the public domain.
Yep.
And of course, most people know Ray Charles's version of that song from 1960, because that is the definitive version of the song to basically everybody now. So that version of the song specifically will not fall into the public domain for quite some time still, but the song itself is no longer under U.S. copyright law protection.
And a bit of trivia about that, it was not originally written about the state. It was written about a woman named Georgia, but after Ray Charles recorded the song, the state embraced it.
Mm-hmm. And now it's the official state song of the state.
Wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so instead of it being like whimsical, thinking about your relationship with the state, it's a person pining after someone else's sister,
Yep.
We also got Happy Feet, which no relation to like the Happy Feet film.
One of the many Penguin movies that came out that year for some reason.
Kermit from the Muppets did a cover of it on the Muppet Show.
But first, many of you people have been writing in to ask the question, can the frog tap dance? And of course the answer to that is, hit it. Happy feet, I've got those happy feet. Give them a low-down beat, and they begin dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I do actually want to circle back. I just realized that one of the early ancestors of Crazy for You is actually on the list too, Girl Crazy, which was made into one of the first movies that Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland starred in together. So, I don't know. There's just something about musicals with the word crazy in it and Gershwin songs that people keep on trying to make again and again.
It makes sense. I mean, Crazy for You in so many regards. It's an excellent, recapturing of the vibe of many of the best known musicals made from when the Gershwins themselves were alive. Because, Crazy for You, oddly enough, I find it weirdly comparable to Singin' in the Rain, in that it's basically just one glorified tribute to a songbook from an acclaimed team, with maybe one or two originals for the sake of the plot, but is otherwise a jukebox musical, basically, by most definitions.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Singing in the Rain was public domain last year.
That's right, the song itself. Not the movie, but the song. Originally performed by Cliff Edwards, fun fact, Jiminy Cricket's voice actor.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, we got another painting in the public domain. Composition with red, blue, and yellow. Pierre Mondrian. I think you know this if you see it, an image of it.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Cubist deconstructionist art, that's probably the most frequently used one as representation of it.
Like, I swear, I think I've seen like 1,000 different graphic design inspired by this particular piece, or just like, this sort of style being replicated quite frequently, if not necessarily this exact painting.
Oh, yes, definitely. Goodness knows I'm certainly not unfamiliar with the style of it, especially now that we are in a time where, at least from an American perspective, a lot of Paul Klee's works are now no longer under copyright as well, and he was sort of a stepping stone in that direction with some of the work that he created, certainly later in life.
We also got Cimarron, which I mostly know this because of the movie adaptation that would come out the year later, the one that won an Oscar. So that's eligible for Ellie's pod.
Very nice.
The song Please Don't Talk About Me When I'm Gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these songs have been public domain for a while, but specific recordings that have entered the public domain, because recordings have a slightly different standard. The Marian Anderson version of Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen is now a recording that can be used without getting flagged by the copyright bots, unless you want to get them some legal trouble of your own, as well as a few early recordings of Louis Armstrong playing the cornet.
Don't trust the bots. They'll take down anything.
Yep. We got a few more Brecht work. There's the Das Jagerser opera, and Rise and Fall of the City of Mahogany, and The Decision.
As far as I know, also at this point, the entire filmography of F.W. Murnau has entered the public domain.
Yeah, with City Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And a Moby Dick adaptation starring John Barrymore apparently has just entered it.
Oh, yeah, wow, that's right. The Barrymore dynasty is about to start showing up more in this realm.
And The Yellow Knight of Oz.
We've got Enter the Saint, which technically we could Simon Templar stories, which means The Saint by Val Kilmer is also eligible.
There's an entire new batch of Jeeves stories by Woodhouse.
Yes.
But what do I ask him?
Whatever you like.
Bit of a throwback to the earlier search engines before Google became the default standard. So this was an amusing one to discover. I wasn't raised on this, but as far as children's material is concerned, apparently the first appearances of Dick and Jane are now no longer under copyright protection in the United States.
Yeah.
The extremely aged so very well, and why would anybody think otherwise in terms of inclusion and not being sexist?
Oh, God.
It's not malicious in this case, it's just very tied into the political milieu of the time, shall we say.
Finally, after all this time, we could request a episode for Fun with Dick and Jane, the Jim Carrey movie, which I guess that was a remake of something else, but...
Oh, God.
We got ourselves in a bit of a pickle here, Dick.
Oh, God.
See, Dick, watch. Watch, Dick, watch.
Yeah.
I just couldn't help but notice that, because people, even in my parents' generation, made fun of the fact that that was what a lot of, early childhood reading education was orientated towards for so long. And apparently the sheer, overt simplicity and lack of any real meaningful conflict or any real meaningful actual educational content as far as learning how to read as much as learning how to memorize was concerned was enough to inspire many examples of now still acclaimed children's book writing that would come in the generation after this. Apparently Dr. Seuss material was largely inspired by, I needed to write something for the kids that was a lot more interesting than this.
Mission accomplished.
So is it especially him doing this out of spite?
Oh, the book Hop on Pop in particular is absolutely something that was written out of spite towards Dick and Jane. Like, that is literally written like a Dick and Jane book, except because it's Dr. Seuss, it's got to be something a lot more, wacky.
A lot more whimsy, a lot more engaging. Like, guys will realize, hey, you do get that we're trying to get the kids to not just read, but actually not hate reading, right?
Exactly.
Which seems to be a recurring problem in education in general. Whee!
Exactly. And like I actually do recall seeing a couple of pages of Dick and Jane being showcased as an example of how far things have come. And yeah, it does not flow very naturally. It's clearly designed to be almost academic about it, but but it really does say something when even Richard Scarry did a better job at this kind of thing for kids by at least anthropomorphizing everybody.
Yeah.
We're still many years away from it, but I'm looking forward to the day where we can look over the political war cartoons of Dr. Seuss.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was a cartoonist before he became an author.
That's right. We've still got a few years to go before we can start talking about anything that he has worked on over here, but I hope that we can get to that point eventually. That might be, that could definitely be a lot of fun.
Definitely. Oh, but speaking of comics, like, the first appearances of Blondie and Dagwood are now in public domain.
They're not married yet.
Oh,
and
okay.
He doesn't make a sandwich until well later, so you can't have them be married and him making a sandwich and not have to worry about lawsuits. But yeah.
Well, again, it's like the whole thing with characters like Pluto or Betty Boop.
Yeah.
The characters' first appearances are in the public domain, but many of the things we associate with those characters, the debut appearance of those aspects of them, still are copyrighted at this point.
Wait, there's a movie? There's a Blondie and Dagwood movie?
Yes. There's a few of those.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that something?
Then there's the English translation of Grand Hotel novel. I know that one becomes like an Oscar-winning movie like 2 years afterwards. And there's also a musical. We've got Anime Wong films.
So apparently there's still some Beatrix Potter stuff that is entering the public domain at this point.
The Adventures of Little Pig Robinson.
I keep forgetting how much more recent Beatrix Potter's writing actually is in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, Tale of Little Pig Robinson is one of the new additions.
No relation to the Swiss Family.
We've got Tarzan at the Earth's Core.
Yep.
So Edgar Rice Burroughs was just straight up ripping off Jules Verne at this point.
It sounds like.
Yeah.
We have The Unholy Three, which is both Lon Chaney's first talking role and his final movie.
Oh yeah, because he had throat cancer after this.
Died a month after it opened.
Yeah, there are quite a few movie stars who, at this point of films and what have you entering public domain, there were quite a few who had already passed away at this point. Like all of Rudolph Valentino's filmography is in the public domain at this point, for example. And in a couple of years, this is also going to be true about Roscoe Arbuckle.
Oh God.
Yeah, the guy who was now mostly known for being one of the first movie stars to be on trial for murder.
What?
Even if the accusations proved to be not very well substantiated.
Oh, damn.
Oh.
Was one of the biggest, both figuratively and literally, stars of his time, got embroiled in a sex scandal, and the industry decided if we throw him to the dogs, maybe we'll keep all of the people that are trying to destroy our industry off our backs.
Basically, the Hays Code, for all of its problems, was technically a compromise. Because most people who were championing a lot of the ideologies behind the Hays Code, they basically wanted the movie industry to be gone completely. So the people who wrote that whole guideline, they were attempting to at least somewhat appease the extremists by at least saying, look, okay, from here on out, movies are going to not depict such and such material. Will that at least get you to shut up a little more?
As we all know, compromise has only led to good things.
Oh, always. Always.
Has never backfired or been bad ever.
Never at all. Lest we forget all those many films that would come out later where, especially if they were adaptations of stuff where the bad guy, quote unquote, wins in the end, and they had to contrive a way to make sure that didn't happen in the movie version.
Oh God.
Yeah, it totally wasn't a major cultural setback or anything. Definitely didn't make it harder to make people see that there is nuance in everything. Totally not an insult to both art and people's intelligence at all. All black and white thinking all the time.
Totally not. But as far as black and white is concerned, I mean, hey, come on. Color film back at the time was so much more expensive and labor intensive. Give them some slack there.
We got James Whale's directorial debut, Journey's End.
That's right.
Wahoo! Among the first queer horror icons! Woo!
And we're only a year away from, of course, his most claimed entry into the cinematic canon becoming public domain as well.
Mm-hmm. We got another Oscar-winning movie, King of Jazz.
Back when Paul Whiteman was a name that people recognized in the jazz world. And nowadays, even people in the jazz world are like, who? Like, the most we can say about Paul Whiteman in the jazz world that is in any way meaningful was that his band performed the first ever performance of Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh,
But we no longer validate the idea that he was once monikered the King of Jazz.
nope.
I mean,
Definitely
come
not.
on. A white guy whose last name was literally White Man, the King of Jazz during the Jazz Age? Come on. Give us a
Yeah.
break.
They were just happy he was honest about it. It's like, well, he does say he's a white man.
I mean, this was during a time when jazz music was still very much demonized by certain people, shall we say.
Yeah.
So last year, Fu Manchu became public domain, or at least the first, one of the first.
Yep. Unfortunately.
Now we have the return of Fu Manchu as a film that is now in the public domain as well. So now you can have that as a nice sequel. I'm looking forward to the next Marvel film that's Fu Manchu, because you got what? Shang-Chi, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I think we debated last year if this means Shang-Chi counts as well. God.
Because the character was originally created as the son of Fu Manchu.
Oh, God.
On a lighter note, I suppose, Hitchcock's second and third talkies are now public domain material.
Oh, yeah.
Juno and the Paycock and Murder! Exclamation point.
Katie from Kansas City, the song, that would later go on to inspire the Betty Boop cartoon that would come out next year.
Mood Indigo.
We also got yet another entry from good old Coy Capra. Frank Capra's film Ladies of Leisure is now no longer under the public domain, which itself is adapted from a play called Ladies of the Evening.
Yep.
I'm guessing yet another example of pre-code versus post-code, judging by that.
Yep.
Because something tells me the Hays Code would not let something like that fly. Oh, and speaking of talking material, we also have the very first ever speaking role for silent film legend Buster Keaton, the film Free and Easy. Though, of course, most of the stuff that we do know Buster Keaton for, that's been public domain for a while now, but technically his career did span quite some ways into the period of the talking picture as well. Just not with the same level of frequency or acclaim, of course, as during the silent era, but technically he does still have a film career even after talking pictures would have theoretically put his antics out of business altogether.
Yeah, a lot of silent film actors struggled to kind of transition into talkies.
Yeah, poor Clara Bow.
Keaton was great, and a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, by the way.
Yeah, and that one is also an Oscar winner, so at least there's that.
And one of his last film roles was being among the many cameos in the film It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Yeah, Buster Keaton was among the cameos as well. There's so many that it's hard to keep track of them all.
Did he cameo in Sunset Boulevard?
I don't know, actually. I'm going to have to look this up. Somehow I don't know this.
I mean, to be fair to Mad, 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 Mad World, if you were alive and a comedian, you were in that film. Everyone is in that movie.
Yeah, you're correct. Buster Keaton did cameo in Sunset Boulevard. How did I not know this?
I think the only reason I knew is because I had to in Sunset Boulevard for Sam's pod.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, I still have to properly check that movie out, actually. That's one of those classic movies that I obviously know about by reputation, but yeah, gonna lose some coolness points as a movie nerd. I still have to get around to properly watching that one from beginning to end.
Okay, we got another Oscar-winning movie, Min and Bill. We won Best Actress at the 4th Academy Awards for Marie Dressler.
Have we mentioned Mervyn LeRoy's Little Caesar yet, with Edward G. Robinson?
I don't think we have.
Yeah, one of the definitive pre-code gangster movies.
Movie.
If not the definitive pre-code gangster movie.
We got Hedy Lamar's film debut, Money on the Street.
Wow.
Oh, hey, the lady responsible for us being able to even do any of this.
Hey, Hedy.
The queen that you are. Also an early adaptation of Tom Sawyer, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. That was the one with the Our Gang child actor in it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought the name Jackie Coogan sounded familiar.
We also have two movies, A Devil with Woman and Up the River, which are both notable for being some of the first films that have Humphrey Bogart in them.
Oh, yeah. And
damn.
Wasn't one of them also Spencer Tracy's debut?
It wasn't his debut, but it was the only movie that the two of them were in together, if I recall correctly.
That's right. Yeah, I think Spencer Tracy would have already had some acting credits at this point, but yeah, the two of them being on screen together. It's interesting that the two of them actually are extremely close to each other in age. So, in fact, I think I still have a book from like 2008 about 501 movie stars, and it points out how, if we're going by times of birth, Humphrey Bogart is the end of the 19th century and Spencer Tracy is the beginning of the 20th century as far as actors being born. At least very famous actors for movies.
One Romantic Night. Oh, this would be what the Swan by Grace Kelly would be inspired by. That was her last film before she became Princess of Monaco.
Oh.
Oh man, I love pointing that one fact out about Grace Kelly as well.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Though to me, always know her as the blonde from Rear Window.
Oh yeah.
Stunning.
She's where we got Hitchcock blondes from.
Looks so good they'll give you vertigo.
Another film I'll spotlight just because I think the plot summary is funny.
Okay.
It's French Leave. During World War I, a captain's wife, Dorothy Glenister, finds it hard to be separated from her husband, so she travels to France to the village where he's stationed. Dorothy disguises herself as the daughter of a local, which leads to complication when she's suspected of being a German spy.
Oops.
I mean, she is basically doing espionage. Like, she is, like, under cover of darkness, like, trying to pretend to be a person she is literally doing espionage.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
We got a Carmen Miranda song. Though I cannot pronounce this because this is in Portuguese. La voce gosta de mim, I think.
I'm not going to be of any help. I barely speak Spanish.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I would like to point out that there is a Walter Lantz cartoon with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit called Chili Con Carmen.
Yes. we got a few more cartoons in the public domain. So Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and Felix the Cat.
That's right. I mean, I associate both of those characters with the 1920s, but they were still making shorts even by 1930. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. We've got an old card play, Private Lives.
I mean, this happens every year, but it feels like especially this year, there's just so many that I never even heard of, and it really just goes to show how much of film history is not just the things that lasted and got a lot of acclaim and are still enjoyed today. A lot of it is just stuff that is almost never heard of again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love highlighting that kind of material every now and again. I mean, goodness knows there's stuff from my childhood that I'm sure by the time I become an old person, people are going to be like, what the heck is that? You know?
Okay.
Yeah, and regardless of how successful it was, people worked hard on that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Oh, we got a Georgia O'Keeffe painting here. So, Red Rust Hills, like, the colors are very pretty.
I can believe that.
Scarface!
Oh, yeah. And apparently, going back to music, the first English lyric for the song we know as Just a Gigolo is no longer under U.S. copyright protection.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that David Lee Roth was that old.
Yep, that was the first version of the song I ever heard as well.
There's one or two books by Nabokov, but not the one that everybody's thinking.
Nope, there's The Eye and the Defense.
I just find it amusing that the Little Caesar one is technically only public domain at this point already because of a little quirk of when the copywriting was officially done. Because the film actually came out in the year 1931, but it was copyrighted just before the end of the year 1930, so that's why it technically qualifies as public domain material now.
Technicalities, we do love them.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, it's for similar reasons why TV networks could get away with broadcasting the stop-motion Rudolph special for so long, because they didn't correctly copyright it, so it automatically became public domain material right away, at least showcasing of that short.
Just like Night of the Living Dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a clerical error that never got fixed in time.
Also, it's wild that we can technically cover, like, the 83 Scarface with Al Pacino now.
Right? Because it is technically a remake of it. I mean, obviously the specifics are different, but the general plot outline, it is modeled after that film.
Say hello to my little remake.
Just for a example of the variety of work that one can do in this time period. So the screenplay for All Quiet on the Western Front was written by George Abbott. In the same year as All Quiet on the Western Front, he also had a movie called The Sea God, wherein a guy goes splunking for pearls and is mistaken by a cannibal tribe as a god because he's wearing that old-timey scuba gear.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy.
Oh, that's
Oh,
another
boy.
one with Fay Ray in it.
Whatever happened to Fay Ray?
And if you're thinking it's like, wow, Cannibal Holocaust is awful, it represents a cannibal tribe that never existed, here you go. It's one from 50 years earlier.
You could blame this and Jules Verne.
Yep, very popular colonialist narrative for a really long time was the cannibal tribe.
Very popular subgenre. You know, it's obviously also in King Kong. They were cannibals in the remake. I can't remember about the original.
They weren't in the original. They were just very cringy looking.
Yeah.
Somehow we still got away with it in not just the recent King Kong remake by Peter Jackson, but also in the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Can we please knock it off?
Yeah, just because of one anecdote from Fiji.
One anecdote from Fiji and you're labeled for life.
Basically, and now this applies to every dark-skinned tribe that looks a certain way, I guess. It's just like, it's so stupid.
And to be fair to Fiji, it was also, you know, it's Cabeza de Vaca, like one of the people who were in the Caribbean. When we were first discovering the Americas, they did come across like other tribes that like ritualistically would to like, you know, consume ash after like a burial, or like they had ideas of like, if I basically like mutilating the body to deny them an afterlife.
And because of that, we got folks with septum piercings trying to roast Captain Jack Sparrow on a spit.
Oh, God.
And it wasn't unfortunate at all.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a somewhat entertaining detour within the movie, but yeah, if you're aware of the context behind why are we doing this as a plot detour, yeah, it's more than a little problematic.
So much yikes.
I still enjoy the movie, but, you know.
Yeah. Got 10 Cents a Dance, a song by Retelling. Like, I know this because Michelle Pfeiffer covered this in The Fabulous Baker Boys.
10 cents a dance, pansies and rough guys, tough guys who tear my gown.
Just, my goodness, the list of material that we've got over here. I'm almost terrified of what it's going to look like a year from now, considering I can already think of a few works that we've technically already discussed on this podcast in one way or another, just in the form of literary adaptations. But now a couple cinematic adaptations are on their way in just under 365 days.
The Bat Whispers. We know that's an inspiration for a certain Bat Shame hero.
Like, I feel bad for us in a couple of years from now, like when we start getting into like the war propaganda years.
Oh, God.
Where it's like, you know, every like 2 weeks you have like another contemporary war movie about like fighting World War II.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no.
I mean, we do have plenty of World War I movies at this point that are in the public domain, so yeah. It's going to be interesting the way things play out, because even films that weren't about war that came out in the 1940s, the theming is still present in an awful lot of them. I don't think a film like Yankee Doodle Dandy or Holiday Inn would be the way that they were if not for World War II, for instance.
Yeah, it's like The Fallout is the basis for a lot of films like Miracle on 34th Street, especially.
Oh, yes.
Like River brings this up.
Yeah, but we've got a few years to go before we have to worry about that. I mean, for me, the thing that I'm already starting to lose patience for, even though I know it's going to take a whole 10 years before we get there, is my favorite movie is going to enter the public domain. Assuming Disney doesn't successfully lobby yet again to change U.S. copyright law, that is. Fingers crossed that they
Fingers
don't.
Crossed.
We just have to preserve the podcast for long enough so we can go over Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, because by then we can reminisce about how, like, you know, how government was supposed to work, hypothetically, in, like, you know, the nuclear hellscape that we'll live in at that point.
Oh, man.
Filibuster was a good thing.
Sure do. Sure do.
Well, honestly, I don't.
We also have one of the million billion adaptations of Tom Sawyer.
We've
got
that
the
up.
third one that they did.
Okay, I know we got the big pun. This was like, I know that Maurice Chevalier was nominated for an Oscar for this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He would have already been acting at this point, because he was actually slightly older than Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah. Oh, I think I did already brought up the Bat Whispers, but, like, apparently Bob Kane cites the villain for this particular film as an inspiration for Batman.
Oh, yeah, which, my God, so that means that in not too long from now, a lot of Batman material is going to be eligible on here.
The Batman material was already eligible because of the bat. What we need to understand about Batman is that there are just so many influences. We're going to have to do a whole episode just dissecting it all.
Oh yeah, because of Zorro, the Scarlet Pimpernel, and all of that.
And that's not even getting into all the villains.
One episode might not be enough.
My point exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, quite frankly, yeah, that would have to be its own series. Well, hey, no rush on that one. That's all I'm saying, because even me, as someone who's only very, very casual when it comes to knowledge of comic book stuff and what have you, I'm still well aware there's a lot of complexity to the ones that have really endured for a long time.
You may not be rushing me, but River sure is.
Who can untangle the horrific web of intertwined trademark and copyright? The Shadow knows.
That was already in public domain. You're safe there.
True. See, that's why I can make the joke. But this is like 1930s is like them in radio.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're getting to a point where, speaking of bizarre copyright and trademark material, yeah, it'll be a few more years until we get there, but we're getting closer and closer to King Kong being material that can be discussed as well, because my goodness, there's a lot of wacky shenanigans around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting material to say the least, because, yeah, when I first learned about how insane the ownership is over that IP, it's just like, my goodness, Hollywood really is kindergartners with cocaine.
I really wish you were wrong about that, but yeah.
No, and that is definitely a new banger quote for IER. Thank you, Leif.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come up with it. I'm pretty sure you have Tony Goldmark to thank for that one, and I'm pretty sure there was someone else who came up with that phrase before him. But it's a good one, and I thought it was a good idea to use.
Okay, we've got The Dawn Patrol, another Oscar-winning movie, and apparently there is a Looney Tunes cartoon that is a parody of this, the one with Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam.
Oh, hell yes.
Oh, wow.
I've already named it. It's a 6.
I'm just wondering how long before we get to the Clark Gable movie that inspired a certain Bugs Bunny pose that has now really popularized the idea of the rabbit and the carrot as intertwined.
What year was that?
Because, yeah, if anyone recalls that little animation of Bugs Bunny eating the carrot by the Warner Brothers logo, that was apparently inspired by a bit from a film starring, I believe it was a film starring Clark Gable, but I do not remember what it was, unfortunately. This is very off the cuff.
We've got The Divorcee. Norma Shearer won Best Actress for that.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is from 1930. Damn, it's just a treasure trove this year. My goodness. As if every other year isn't also going to be a treasure trove.
The Clark Gable role was It Happened One Night in 1934, so 4 years and counting.
Whoa.
So it was one of the really iconic ones. Again, how did I not know this? This has become a running gag at this point. Like, I'm supposed to be a massive movie nerd over here. How am I not knowing so many things right now?
I had to look it up on my phone.
I guess the further back in time I go, the less knowledge I seem to have about my hyperfixations. Figures.
Well, it's hard to know everything.
We got another Hardy Boys book. So, The Great Airport Mystery. But this is specifically for the original that came out in May 1930. The Human Voice. So we got a Cocteau play.
Oh yeah, Jean Cocteau. Yeah, because he'd been around for quite some time already at this point.
Yeah, then we could technically cover the Pedro Auld. I can never pronounce his last name, but the movie he did based on that with Tilda Swinton.
Oh man. I mean, hey, any opportunity to rave about Tilda Swinton's all right in my book. I think it was similar in my head to Edmund, seeing all 6 foot of her in that fabulous attire.
The Last Mile. Why do I know this? The lead role was first played by Spencer Tracy, and it was the role that brought him attention to Hollywood.
Ooh.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it was like D9 film with Mickey Rooney.
Oh, okay. Man, I've seen a couple of Rooney starring vehicles, but clearly not a ton, because that's a completely new title to me. I'm sure my grandparents would probably have a memory of that, however, because I know that they were certainly quite fond of him. I mean, most folks in my age bracket, if they know Mickey Rooney for anything, it's for a couple of voice roles he did in his older age, whether as the voice of adult Todd in Fox and the Hound, or as a young Kris Kringle from the Rankin Bass Santa Claus is Coming to Town special, or The Year Without Santa Claus.
There's also the time that he played Mickey Rooney in the episode of The Simpsons, where he replaced Milhouse.
That's right. So you get to hear Mickey Rooney saying, "Jiminy Jillikers."
And even younger people will know him from his appearances in Night at the Museum and The Muppets.
That's right. Because, yeah, he lived a long life, that guy. He really did. And he'd been acting since he was a kid, so he pretty much was acting his entire life.
Yeah, no, and the funny thing is, even before Girl Crazy got into the public domain, there was technically a Mickey Rooney movie we could cover on this podcast. It's called Phantom of the Megaplex.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That was my introduction to Mickey Rooney.
Editor Jasmine here. This was before I knew that he had started his acting career doing something eligible for this podcast, and also Ellie's podcast, which actually, as of this recording, is going to be the next episode of Ellie's podcast, The Biggest Night in Podcasting, where we'll be talking about the 1934 A Midsummer Night's Dream. All of the podcast's hosts will be there. Don't you dare miss it.
Oh, The Mystery of the Yellow Room. This is an adaptation of a Gus LaRue novel.
Ooh, one that isn't Phantom.
Yeah. He gets pigeonholed as a Phantom writer so much that we don't really know much about his other works.
I mean, I'm not surprised. There are tons of acclaimed artists who are really only known for one thing, even though during their lives they were in fact known for quite a lot else. But also there are some acclaimed artists who were one-hit wonders even way back then. The one-hit wonder is not a new concept. I mean, again, going back to music for a second, I mean, if you know at all the name Gustav Holst, probably only know him for one piece of music, but it's a very famous one, The Planet Suite. But he wrote plenty of other music as well, and quite a lot of it is also quite excellent, but sadly it doesn't get anywhere near the same amount of attention.
Does that make the Peanut Vendor a one-hit wonder then?
Maybe. It's very exciting to really get to look into this kind of material because it's so fascinating learning how much material ends up getting there. And from my own point of view as a jazz musician, the thing that really excites me is how many more standards I can get away with making arrangements of without having to worry about anyone's permission or approval.
Here on IER, Christmas is not truly over until Public Domain Day happens.
Free presents. Yeah. Free presents.
Exactly. Tons of free presents in the forms of old media that, quite frankly, should have been public domain way, way sooner. But, hey, I'm not complaining.
Okay, yeah, the path for this one is wild. Like, the spoilers. The only reason I know this is because Edwin Carew was a Native American film director during this time period. So this film started out as a novel, then it was made into a silent film in 1914, and then made into another silent film in 1923, until finally this. And it would also go on to do sound films in 42 and 55.
Yeah, that's another thing that does deserve a bit more attention, because as also horrifically condescending as it was in hindsight, we're getting to the end of the period when Indigenous American culture was treated with a sort of fascination by the film industry, even if it did come from this sort of attitude of, oh, these people are dying out and will eventually disappear forever, so we need to document them while they still exist, which, I mean, ugh. But
okay, I see. You think this has nothing to do with you.
There is still...
I mean, they were sort of killing them all, so they had, at the very least, the responsibility of documenting who they were, killing en masse.
Exactly. But, like, I mean, as cringy and awful as that is, if one good thing came of it, it did mean that from this time period up until now, there was a lot of footage and storytelling that was being done to at least try to showcase some of the cultures that still existed at the time, even if they were still, obviously very much framed through a lens of trying to make them a spectacle for white audiences. It wasn't nothing, and I know that there were plenty of prominent people in the community who were, at least to a degree, happy to have something like that out there, though goodness knows how much of that is just, hey, I'll take what I can get, you know what I mean?
But not everything can be the quality of Daughter of Dawn.
Exactly. And at least the material that came out around that time was far better than what happened in the aftermath of Indigenous American rights actually starting to move forward legislatively, which prompted the entertainment industry to go in a much, much less flattering direction for a really long time as a result in petty retaliation. Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that, for instance, some of the early cartoon shows that showcased a lot of those really awful portrayals of Indigenous people came not long after some big doors got opened under the Roosevelt regime.
Yeah. Okay, we got the novel Viral Bodies by Evelyn Waugh. So Katie is going to be excited for this. That is apparently inspired Aladdin Sane by David Bowie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm still wrapping my head around the fact that that album by Bowie is over half a century old at this point. There's still a part of me that's just like, how were the 1970s 50 plus years ago? That just doesn't sound right.
Time is moving too fast.
Yep, math is math, I guess.
We don't do math here. I barely do. The first documentary to win an Oscar with Bird at the South Pole. And we got an Emily Carr painting.
Yay, Canada represent.
This list does include a few international films as well, like one from Czechoslovakia, one from Egypt.
Mm-hmm. This is not a comprehensive list because Tumblr kept breaking every time I tried to add more to this, so this was a lot of lateral decision making on what to cut and what to keep.
And even with
Fair
the
enough.
cuts, I'd say we still got a lot to talk about with this.
We really do. Holy.
Like I said, the doors are just flying open every year.
They really, really are.
And the things that this podcast can talk about gets a lot more crowded.
Don't it just?
Isn't that fun?
Oh, it's so fun. Like, I love that more and more stories get to belong to society in general.
Oh, yeah, me too. Because, ideally that is how it is supposed to work when it comes to the creative arts. Like, copyright absolutely makes sense. When you're creating something, you want to make sure that you are, in fact, able to make a profit off of it. If you live in a capitalist society, you kind of have to. But it's also ideal that it indeed be a temporary deal. And it is kind of peculiar that we now live in a world where more often than not, copyright outlasts the very life of the person who created something. Like the fact that so many countries, it's the lifetime of the author plus 70 years.
Yeah.
Like, that just seems like...
Not just their life, like the life of their grandchildren.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically like they're trying to encourage the author's estate to not get a job.
While the artists who create things do deserve proper compensation for it, extending copyright this long means that there are so many things that just you don't know about because people didn't have enough motivation to keep it in the public eye because of the expenses that would be involved. And obscurity is the death of art.
And, well, insert the motto of this podcast here.
Goodness knows, I deliberately go out of my way to explore in obscurity when it comes to some of my fascinations, in part because I know that if I'm to get away with actually making some music of my own, if I'm going to put any covers on the album between any originals I attempt, it'll be less expensive if I go for really, really deep cuts by artists that I nonetheless think are really good songs that deserve more love, something to that effect. And likewise for art in general, quite frankly. I mean, there's so much more openness to discover. Really, the only downside so far that I've been noticing to public domain entrance lately is that the studios that would owned them originally and what have you are now feeling a lot less motivated to do high definition restoration work of them because why if no profit?
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of these public domain works, like not all of them get adaptations. They're like shut off to the side, maybe don't get as much recognition, but with the public domain, like someone could take the opportunity to take this and do their own spin on it.
It just opens up so many more possibilities for creativity because, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all art in one way or another is influenced by something else. There was always a before, there was always a source for what would create something that we take for granted as a great work of art. I mean, the obvious example that seemingly everyone points to when arguing this is, of course, how Star Wars is like a compilation of ideas from a whole bunch of different things, but that's true for pretty much all creative work. I believe it was Stravinsky who said that good artists borrow, great artists steal, something to that effect.
Damn right we do.
And then another famous person said it and put their name on it.
And then we said it.
Exactly.
I go into this diatribe whenever I have the opportunity, I guess, but I've always been interested in like that sort of connective tissue between generations or that sort of contemporariness. Like a recurring joke or pointing out different timelines to people, just kind of like, we're in, what year is it now? 2026, right? So, 40 years ago was 1986. So, Back to the Future was already a thing by then, right? Or like, what would be another example? 1930s. So like, Woodstock, the mental space between the early 1930s and then Woodstock is like massive, but that's only a span of like, 39 years.
It sure is.
And then, now it's like, we're further away from Back to the Future, we're further away from Raiders.
We're as far away from the 1990s as the 1990s were from the 1960s.
I hate this.
And like there's only so many ways that you can connect it. Like, I watched a lot of Looney Tunes short when I was a kid, but I was shown them just because they were on TV. And like, my dad liked them because he saw them when he was a kid and he had the opportunity to. But, how about kids now? Like, the Looney Tunes stuff isn't on streaming, or at least I've never been able to find it. Or it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you need to give your money to HBO Max if they've decided to bless you with the opportunity to watch the thing they own.
Yeah, because apparently a tune killed Zaslav's brother or something.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'm certainly hoping that this gradual entrance of material in the public domain will do, is that it will help liberate a lot of creative work from, being trapped as such in that kind of realm. And that's to say nothing of the fact that, we're now in a world where sailing the high seas is sometimes necessary for the sake of media preservation, because who knows if something that is only available on streaming will then not be available even on streaming for the sake of tax write-offs.
With that said, for now, it looks like Looney Tunes is currently mostly on Tubi. But yeah, it's sad that we really have to be like, okay, is it streaming anywhere?
Exactly. We're living in a world where by default, that is how we consume our media if we are to do so within the framework of what the law says we can do. Physical home media does still exist, but it's the very idea of physical home media has become as niche as its earliest incarnations had become in relation to its newest versions.
Everyone jumped down George Lucas's throat because he did what he did to Star Wars, making like the whole special edition thing. And like now they can just do that. Like there are times where like an unimportant scene or like, there was a mistake in like some streamed show and they just take it down and re-upload a altered version of it because they have that authority now. They just have unlimited access to a version of it. So like you have to catch it before it's gone. Like what was one of the big ones in Game of Thrones? There was like a Starbucks cup in like the background.
Yep, in the fourth to last episode of the series, there was just a Starbucks cup visible. Yep.
And they just took it down and removed it. Or when HBO or one other streaming service, whatever owns it, they put up a version of Mad Men where there's this very obvious, they didn't use the footage correctly. So it was like, you could see the gaffer with like the little tube of like fake vomit because the guy was eating oysters or something. And it was just like this very glaring technical error on their part. And they just took it down and fixed it. And obviously it wasn't like the broadcast version, but still they can do whatever they want.
I do, to a degree, understand where people are coming from when it comes to that sort of thing, but it is such a slippery slope. I mean, because sometimes there's a charm to noticing things like that. Sometimes there's a charm to noticing the boom mic in the mirror every now and again. Or sometimes, when you're seeing, puppetry in a movie, sometimes you can just barely make out a little bit of the actual puppeteer's hand off in the corner of a shot somewhere, Sometimes that doesn't actually ruin the illusion. Sometimes it can add to the charm of the whole experience every now and again. Because I've seen some clips or movies where you can barely make out like the puppeteer's torso or something, at the edge of a shot every now and again. But that didn't ruin it for me.
Yeah, like this isn't the first or last podcast that has proclaimed the glory of the Muppets, but at the end of the day, we understand that it's all puppetry, that it's all artistry, and it just, seeing the level of craft that they're putting into it is the point. At this point, they could just make a CGI Big Bird or a CGI Gonzo.
Don't speak that into existence. We do not want a toast dodgeball.
There was already cartoon versions of Kermit, like when they were kids or whatever, right?
Oh, yeah, the Muppet Baby Show.
And so, like, this has already been breached in some way, but, like, there isn't a whole lot stopping them from making, like, a CGI Kermit and just doing whatever. Like, why go through the effort of making a rig to put Kermit on a bike if you can just, have a computer put Kermit on a bike?
Well, that's why we need CGI artists to unionize, because then it will level the playing field for the expenses of hiring. Because, that's the cynical reason why CGI is the default method for animation, for special effects, what have you. I mean, it's not the only reason why, but let's be honest, a big reason why is because it, to this day, is largely not unionized, whereas other realms of special effects largely are. Model making, puppetry, 2D animation, stop motion animation, that stuff is much more strictly supervised by, regulations that are there to ensure that the people doing the work actually are able to live and have good lives and have a life outside of the job and actually take the time necessary to make it as good as it possibly can. That's a luxury that's not still afforded to an awful lot of companies that work in the world of computer graphics, unfortunately. That's starting to change, but it's only starting.
And I know not every union is necessarily perfect. The whole thing that SAG, the strike they pulled because of AI, and they agreed to a half measure. They didn't actually solve the problem.
I mean, arguably, there wasn't a lot of problem solving that was all that within their grasp, but still, the fact that they fought as hard as they could and it doesn't seem like it accomplished some of the things that were most talked about, they did make some really impressive accomplishments. I'm not going to dismiss that, but yeah.
For all of the hullabaloo with the strike, we all wish it could have gone a little bit better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it always could have gone a lot further. But, really on that front, I'm just hoping for the bubble to burst before the end of this year. Let's see what happens, I guess.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, eventually we need to make an IOR episode for proper horror stories for public domain figures that don't involve slashing.
I mean, I'm okay with slashers. I just want slashers with some brains behind them.
Exactly.
Oh, of course. It'd be great if more slasher movies were like Scream at the very least.
God, it's going to be Winnie the Pooh and Jacob's Ladder.
No!
But I agree. We do need to take a more creative approach than just making slasher versions of public domain material as soon as it happens, because quite frankly, part of why people are so dismissive about the slasher subgenre of horror is that even though there are lots of classics within it, it is one of those types of genre films that is easy to do lazily.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you just do it for the shock value, especially with public domain figures that are typically seen as more kid-friendly.
Mm-hmm. So I do hope that we get more inspiration to take different paths.
Instead of doing a Popeye, like a classic Popeye slasher, just have Popeye do a Voyage of the Demeter. That's an interesting premise right there.
Or even the Bambi one. You don't need to have the deer be a satanic demon deer or whatever the hell that movie was about.
Go back to the roots that Felix Salten was doing, yeah.
You could have it be a thriller where you're going from the perspective of the deer and you're being hunted. It would be a thriller, and you're just following this family of deer as they're being tracked down by a series of hunters.
Give it more than 5 seconds of thought, man. That's all we ask. All right, last call for final thoughts.
Public domain good.
I know this was not for pitches, but this is an idea that I feel compelled to share. A Maltese Falcon with Margaret Qualley playing Sam Spade.
Ooh.
I mean, I will watch Margaret Qualley in anything. Just ask my Letterboxd review of Honey Don't.
Ethan Cohen, if you're listening to this, please make it happen.
Yes. I would love to see a version of that.
But yes, public domain, very good. And I am forever grateful for all of the fruits that it provides for my little passion project here. All right, who has stuff to plug?
You can find me on the Online Muse on Tumblr. I make all the graphics for this podcast and for a sibling podcast, 6 Degrees of Star Wars. If you like my work and want to commission me, come hit me up.
Her work is amazing. Do it.
And as far as looking for me elsewhere from here is concerned, and thankfully with a better sound setup than this, you can find me on the Disney Outlands podcast, where I host a podcast discussing feature films, short films, episodes, and specials that the Disney company has produced, but are not quite so easily found on their major streaming services. That's one place where you can find me wherever podcasts are found, in addition to, of course, being here on this podcast as a frequent guest, as well as several others. Also, if you're interested in following me as a musician, I do have an Instagram called Leif Bradshaw Sings. And if you're interested in following me as a voice actor, you can follow me on Casting Call Club. My name is Leif Bradshaw, and that's spelled Leif.
I'm Snake Bit Cat on the socials.
All right, Frankly, what's your plug?
My plug for this week is plugging your ears while you're in a trench because of being bombarded in a country you've never been to for a reason you can't understand.
Dang, that one was a little dark, but I loved it.
Well, I had to give it out to All Quiet on the Western Front. Fun, frankly, fact, I had to read this book in college, and I procrastinated the assignment for the entire time I was allotted, so I read the book in like 6 hours, and then I did the assignment. I got an A-.
Nice.
And that is college, baby.
I had to read that in high school.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. I can't imagine what that does to a person's brain. Oof.
Certainly one of the first books I read that proved that literature could, in fact, be depressing as hell. Just the casual way that the horrors of war are described. There's no horror in the tone. It really does drive home how numb you get mentally to anything once it just becomes normal for you after a while. Excellent book. Highly recommend if you feel like crying for hours.
Oh, God. I mean, sometimes you need that.
Sometimes it's in fact very cathartic.
And unfortunately, its message remains ever relevant. I will once again point you to the show notes for our extensive list of heroes' call to action in times that unfortunately make that book ever relevant. And as always, you can find me at Faye Riviera on all the socials. And please consider checking out this podcast's Tumblr page, retellingpodcast.tumblr.com. Technically, we still have Twitter and Blue Sky, but we really have not used it recently. Maybe we'll get back to that this year. Maybe I will make that a resolution. We'll see. Either way, please consider using the podcatcher of your choice to rate and review us. And spread the word about us where you can. Maybe you have friends who will like our Muppet episodes, or maybe you'll have friends who will like it when we talk more about Jane Austen. One of my goals within Each Retelling is that there is truly, almost certainly, an episode for everyone. And if you have room in your wallets, please consider donating to our Patreon. Our various tiers give you access to episodes a little bit early. It gives you access to our IER book club that I started during the hiatus. And it gets you a direct thank you in the credits, such as for Kyle Calgren, Connor Duffy, and Juan Garcia. Thanks so much for your contributions. This is making it all the more likely that this podcast keeps going. You can also support us through our Ko-Fi or the Support the Show link below. However you choose to support us, however, just the fact that you're listening to us means the world to us. And helps us reach the next chapter of our story. And speaking of, it's time to set sail to the sea of monsters, everyone. That's right, this February we are going on an odyssey through the second entry in the Percy Jackson series. We hope you will join us, and remember, stories gain power in each retelling.